What is that outfit?
I'm a slave the 1970s look today, with bell suits and a big statement bracelet office.
I'm just here for disco music and escape gym class.
And I'm just here to speak. Oh no, I'm just here for snacks and cake.
Guys, guess what I just finished in science class today?
Let me guess, you finally turned your lunchbox into a robot.
No, way better. I built a time machine.
Girl, you glued a blender to a cardboard box once and you thought you could fly.
Laugh all you want, but I call it the Traveler 3000.
But what now?
The Traveler 3000. Just kidding.
Wow, you're really traveling. Make sure we don't end up in that class. Wow. Bell bottoms, platform shoes, tie-dye everywhere. This must be the 70s.
While the dance floor was hot, people filled the streets fighting for the gay movement and women's rights. The 1970s was a period shift. The 1970s were a period of significant social changes in the United States and many parts of the world. One major shift was the continuation of evolution of civil rights movement. While the 1960s laid out the groundwork, the 1970s saw gains in women's rights with the rise of second wave feminism, pushing for equality in the workplace, reproductive rights, and passage through not ratification of Equal Right Amendment. Additionally, minority groups such as Native Americans, Latinos, and LGBTQ individuals organized for greater visibility, equality, changing long-standing discrimination. These movements contributed to a broader cultural shift towards inclusivity amid resistance.
Okay. Then, speaking of big movements, let's talk about fashion inventions. The 70s brought us a lot of new inventions, such as the first handheld phone, which was released on April 3rd, 1973, by the phone company Motorola. When it was first released, it was about $3,000, which in nowadays times would equal about $10,000. It was really pricey. Another cool invention was the Rubik's Cube. The Rubik's Cube was first created by a Hungarian design teacher, Erno Rubix, in 1974. He first named it the Magic Cube. The student toy agent relayed the idea to the Ideal Toy and Novelty Company. They renamed it to Rubik's Cube and started selling it in 1981. It soon became a huge hit all over the world, and competitions still happen today. The next one is the MRI. The MRI was a huge medical invention where the first successful human scan taken by an MRI took place on July 3rd, 1977. Though the first successful scan was taken in 1977 by the actual MRI, the magnetic technology for it was created way earlier in about the 1930s.
And think fashion and music, because it was not just some closet full of boring clothes. Oh no, this decade had full-blown fashion fever dream in the best way possible. We're talking blowout hair so big it had its own zip code. And color everywhere. Tops, bottoms were rainbow, fabric on steroids. Farrah Fawcett didn't just walk so others could run. She flipped her hair so the whole country could follow. Her feathered hair was practically a national treasure. And if you weren't rocking tie-dye, platform shoes tall enough to qualify as a small ladder, or some kind of glittery disco-ready outfit, were you even living in the 70s? The 1970s were like a musical buffet where everyone piled their place high of hard rock, soft rock, funk, punk, hip hop. Just getting started, of course, disco strutted like it owned the place. Okay, because it kind of did. New waves started bubbling up, like electric music began its glow up, laying groundwork for future beats, but it wasn't all glitter and disco balls and guitar solos. This decade also cranked up the volume on political and social shout out, sing, and sometimes even scream about the world around them.
And let's not forget about the economy and the politics. In the 70s, the economy wasn't the best. It had the cost of the Vietnam War and a dollar decrease of a shortage of fuel.
The political state wasn't much better, as we had events like the Watergate scandal. The Watergate scandal was the start of the end of Richard Nixon's presidential career. It started in the early morning of June 17, 1972, when several burglars were arrested for breaking into the Democratic National Committee office. A huge investigation was released, and it ended up finding that those burglars were connected to Nixon's campaigns and broke in to steal top secret copies and top secret copies of documents and bugged the office's phone to help him win in his presidential debate. So after he started to get suspected, he made a huge speech saying, "I didn't do this. This was someone else." And most people believed him, which is why he eventually got elected president. But soon after, a few investigators found out that he taped each one of his oval meetings, which is basically a meeting with him and his election committee. And so eventually they made him release the tapes, which proved that he was the one who set up the burglary, and he was the one in charge. Yet he wasn't imprisoned. He was just impeached and was thrown from the presidential seat, and his vice president took his place. The next large political war is the end of the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War is known as America's longest war, ranging from 1955 to 1973. During the many years the war dragged on, more than 2.5 men were deployed. In January of 1973, the end of the U.S. involvement was announced. The troops would stay overseas and continue fighting until August.
But luckily, we have new and amazing movies to distract us, like Star Wars that came out in '77 and Grease that came out in '78. That starred John Travolta and who also was in Saturday Night Fever. The 1970s were a transformative decade for entertainment, marked by emergence of new musical genres and groundbreaking films that reshaped popular culture. Disco surged in popularity with artists like Donna Summer, the Gee's Bees, and Gloria Gaynor. Dominating the charts, the new release of Saturday Night Fever in 1977, featuring John Travolta, and the soundtrack by the Gee's propelled disco into mainstream consciousness, making it a cultural phenomenon. Simulation glam rock emerged in the UK, characterized by the flamboyant fashion and performances by artists such as David Bowie and T-Rex, challenging traditional gender norms and influencing future musical styles.
Okay, guys, let's begin. I don't trust any decade that has pants as big as parachutes.